Good afternoon and good evening, wherever you are on the planet this wonderful day. I am Amanda Ray. I'm excited to be here with you today. Thank you for those of you who are joining me in Zoom, and thank you to those of you on Facebook and the replay watchers. So I just wanted to take some time to talk to you guys about some things that have been coming up in conversation with clients, with people in group, with everything. And so let's see here. I'm gonna get this. Okay. So one thing that I wanted to talk about first is the fact that we have that divine right to have an authority in our lives when it comes to all things, but then on top of it, when it comes to the spiritual world and our spiritual path and our spiritual journey and our abilities and things like that. So if there's one thing that I can tell you, that when I speak about this topic, I speak from a place of love and from complete experience. So when I first started my journey, I was on purpose, intentionally. It was a few years ago, and I started it full of fear that what I realized now, looking back, wasn't always entirely my own. It was through conversation with other people that I became fearful of the spirit realm, and through Hollywood videos and things like that. It was just a little much for me. And so I kind of just backpedaled and didn't want anything to do with it. But now that what I've realized is I'm a God girl, so I'm going to say God, but you can say creator, you can say divine, you can say source energy, you can say universe, whatever it is. It just, for me, I call it God. So I'm going to say that, just a heads up. But what I believe is that God intended for all of us, when he created us, when we were created by creator, we were put here on this planet, in this earth, to have dominion. It says it in the Bible. It talks about it all over the place. It is just, we are in charge of this time-space reality that we're in right here. And okay, that's great. But what does that mean? That means that we have the right to say what happens in and around our spaces, in and around in our lives. And so what I want to talk to you guys today is the fact that you are so powerful, but we continuously forget. We continuously want to hand that off to someone. We continuously are seeking that support and validation from other things other than our connection with the divine within ourselves. And so one of my lovely teachers is Crystal Ann Compton. Nobody can teach Dominion better than her. So if you have not caught one of her videos, I suggest you do it, because she's an amazing, amazing, amazing speaker when it comes to Dominion and really owning and stepping into your I am. But I would like to share, so I'm going to share some of the things that she has taught me that has really helped me through my journey. And I'm going to add some things as well, because Spirit's here and is trying to help me teach this. This is such a big deal for me, and it is such a big deal for a lot of you who are walking in that spiritual, trying to figure out what's going on or connecting in with your spiritual gifts. And so what I really want to share, the first thing, and I do have some notes, so if I'm looking this way, it's my notes, but y'all know me by now. I need some notes, otherwise we're going to end up in every side street in America. So one thing that I want to talk to you about is standing firm in your dominion, knowing that God has given you the power and the authority to say what happens in your space. So, for example, part of being empowered is part of being like a spiritual badass. It's just the way I'm going to explain it, because when you step up and say, all right, I'm aware of the feeling. Let's say you're clairsentient and you can feel things, and you don't always know why, and you want to know why, but then you read about it or you learn about it and you're like, well, that's intimidating. I don't even know. What I want to tell you is right here is you can actually take that into control. You can actually control the abilities that you are that you have been given, and they're there to help you and they're there to help other people. What gets us in a tizzy, or what knocks us off of our path, is our fear. And our fear is something that is a lower vibration, and our fear is something that our ego minds bring to us to keep us safe. Like, oh, you shouldn't do that, or do you really want to do that, or this doesn't feel good. And that's not always necessarily the case. So here's the thing. For example, you're in your home upstairs folding laundry, okay? And you have a child or a pet or something, or maybe you're home alone, whatever, and an intruder comes into your home. What do you do? Do you pretend it's not there? Do you stay upstairs and hide? Do you make a bunch of racket to let them know that you're home? Do you go down there ready to beat some butt? Do you call the police? Like, what do you do? I'm gonna say, if somebody's in my home, it's gonna come over me, and I'm gonna come down there and I'm gonna be like, get out. I will probably call the police, but at the same time, I'm gonna take authority, especially if my children are down there. Like, I'm gonna go down there like something fierce, like something they've never seen before. Why? Because they're in my space. They're in my home. This is what I'm protecting. And I have a right to have that authority in my home. I have a right to have that feeling of empowerment. Your body and the space around it, the space that you're occupying, that is your home. So if an intruder feels like spirit feels intruding to you, you have the same right to go, no, bye, and tell that to leave. You have that right. You can't call the cops, but you can call on the divine. I need some help. Help me feel safe. Help me feel this. Ask for that help, ask for that assistance. Call in God, call in the angels, call in the creator, call in the universe, source energy, whatever you want to call it in, because it's there to help you. So that's one of those things. The more space you take up in your power, in your sovereignty, and the more you know you have control and you are in charge, the safer you're going to feel. And the safer you feel, the more you'll actually be able to connect in with your abilities, your God-given abilities, the ones that you were picked to have specifically. Nobody else has the gifts and the abilities that you do. Now, it might fall under an umbrella of, let's say, clairaudience, clear hearing. Clair means clear, audience is hearing, clear hearing. So for example, I'm clairaudient. So I will hear things. I tell that to some people and they're like, okay, but I do hear spirit. I've heard it with my inner ear, is what I call it. It's like that little pineal gland. It's like a little microphone. I think it's like the microphone, like, hello, is anybody here? But it's actually in the back of your, it's in the back, in the back part of your brain and your head, spine area. But that's your place of connection. Even the Egyptians talked about that. But anyway, so for me, the voice of spirit comes in from behind. Now, if somebody's yelling my name, Amanda, or kids, mom, or something like that, I'm going to hear it with this. And it's going to, when it comes in, it seems like it comes in the front of my mind. But when it's spirit, whether it's like God, whether it's the angels, whether it's a past loved one, whatever it is. And when it comes in, I can hear it, but it's almost like I'm hearing from behind. That's different than some of the other clairaudient people that I've talked to. They hear things differently. It's still clairaudience. It's still going to fall under that umbrella. Same thing with clairvoyance. You might see things differently. Some people get like a crystal clear image. Some people, it's more of a hazy, like, fuzzy, kind of like trying to make out something on the screen, on TV screen that's really, fluttery. So it doesn't matter the level or to whatever, however that looks when it comes in. It's the fact that that's yours. That's the way spirit can contact or communicates with you. And so one of the ways to get to really know that and to be able to feel comfortable in allowing that to happen, the first thing you need to do is feel empowered and to feel that that divine right to know that as soon as you're uncomfortable, you're done. you can turn it off. So how do you do that? You ask, you pray, you say affirmations, you seek that, you know, and the more you continuously focus on the fact that you have dominion, you are in control of whatever it is that's going on around you, the faster that you really learn to vibrate and take up that space of authority, the easier it will be when you start hearing things, when you start sensing things, when you start knowing things, when your clear abilities start to pick up on the spirit realm. You won't feel so bugged out of your mind because you have control, and you know that you're going to allow what's going to come in to only be the light, to only be from a loving space. Another thing that we were given from God is to know. It's discernment. We were given discernment, that gut feeling that, oh, I don't know, that doesn't feel like such a good idea. Well, what do you think that is? Spirit. That's God. That's God telling you, like, hey, I don't know about that. Same thing with the butterflies. Something exciting, something like, oh, I'm so excited, like the excited butterflies. That's like that's like the twinkles and the sparkles and the glitter of God saying, yes, this is exciting. This is what I'm preparing you for. This is what I'm bringing you to. And so I just want to, encourage you to really know that, yes, it can be intimidating at first. But when you really start to concentrate on shedding that fear and being more empowered and having that dominion and really stepping into who it is that you were created to be, the farther you're going to get and the more comfortable you're going to be and the more things you are going to experience. So, excuse me, you know that I have a passion for working with children. So, for example, parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, whoever, you are with a child who has these abilities. Well, let's say this. Everybody has abilities. Let's just back it up. Everybody has abilities. But when you're around children, they're open. They're more open. They're closer to that veil. They're closer to their birth. They're coming through. I was recently speaking with a friend of mine who her daughter was talking to her about, she remembers Jesus. She remembers holding Jesus's hand. She watched her parents. I've got 3 people that I've talked to recently who have talked to me about things like that. What do I say? Well, you say that's awesome. That's what you say. You say that's amazing. I'm so excited for you. Tell me about it. And let them talk to you about it, because that's what you're feeding. Then you're feeding their empowerment. You're feeding their imagination. You're feeding their I am. You're letting them know that memory is legitimate. That is a thing. It's not feeding into their imagination. You're feeding their soul, that you're feeding their dominion. You're letting them know that this is something that they have experienced, and that is okay. And so I love to work on empowering the littles, because they're already halfway there. They don't have to unlearn like we do as an adult or as a teenager. We have to unlearn those fears that were brought in, taught to us, placed upon us, that, given the reaction of different things that we've shared with people. And so when we work with children, there's a lot we don't have to do. Now, sometimes it is kind of scary for them, and they are like, there's a man in my closet. There's a guy in the corner. There's somebody under my bed. Oh my God, there was always somebody under my bed. But if we can teach them at that young age how much power they have, that God's created them with that power, with his ability to turn on that light and shine it out. So there's a story that goes, and I'm going to paraphrase it, so I will look it up. Let me make a note of that. I'm going to look up that story. Okay. I'm going to look up that story, and I'm going to post it in my group later. But it's about this man who was come home, was in his kitchen, went upstairs to get ready for bed, heard all this noise downstairs. And he went downstairs, looked, turned on the light, looked around, didn't see anything. Turned the light back off, went back upstairs. Heard it again. Came downstairs. Couldn't find anything. Went back upstairs. Heard it again. Came downstairs. And this ghostly, spirity, creepy thing was like, you know. And he looked at him and he was like, nice try. He didn't feed into it. He didn't go, oh my God, and run up the stairs. He was like, you're ridiculous. That's how you have to view the scary part of spirit, because it's really what it is your own fears, and it magnetizes the situation. Now, there are things that are a whole nother topic, but this is kind of what I'm talking to you about today is more or less the, when we feel, sense, hear, see, know spirits around, we have that authority to go, you know what, I'm not in the mood. You think of them as a child with a mask on. I'm not in the mood. No, bye. And so with kids, it's great to have like an essential oil spray to get rid of the, the bad guys or the monsters under the bed and in the closet. It's great to have an essential oil spray or some sort of wand that, bibbidi bobbidi be gone, But at the same time, what happens when you run out of that essential oil spray? What happens when it's like that teddy bear, or you lose the wand, or you lose the magic, whatever it is that they have? And so I feel like it's important for us to actually teach them that it's them. They are the magic thing that has that control. That way they'll never lose that. They'll never, they're never caught without their oil spray, or they're not caught without their magic wand. They always have it. They can just point it. And one thing that we have been told numerous times over and over, as from the Bible and on out, the light will always outshine the darkness, always. Now, God says, I've created you in my image. And he says, I am the I am. We are part of the I am. We co-create this with our divine God source energy. We co-create. We were given the abilities to see and sense the world of spirit. What we choose to do with it is our own free will, which we have been given coming here. But those of you who are maybe like me, who have grown up and kind of shielded that part and pushed it out and continued to push it out, and it was not going to go away to stay away forever, and you finally said, what is up? What is this about? It's because you have there's a bigger purpose for that. Connecting in with your gift is going to heal yourself, and it's going to help you heal other people. It's going to have that ripple effect. And that is what's shining that light. That is that love that is in our being. And so if we can connect to that center of love and knowing, and that center of that power source of knowing this is our connection, when we turn that on, we can outshine all of the dark, all of the negative, all of the fears, all of the scary business. We can outshine in that. And so that's what I'm wanting to do, is to help you guys learn to be empowered for the purpose that you have been given, that reason. And I can't stress enough how much that I lived in fear, and how much I kept to myself. And what it ended up doing to me was like eating me alive. And it actually, what I didn't realize at the time, is that it had a trickle effect, and it played into every aspect of my life in a way that I didn't realize that it had kind of like bled in and kind of muddied up different areas. One being my self-esteem. If you know me, you would be like, well, I don't think she has a self-esteem. It shouldn't seem like I hit it really well, because I'm outgoing, and my job, in the salon I'm outgoing. So I was able to pull through that. But when you really got to know me, when you really cracked my hard outer Scorpio shell, there was a whole lot of deepness in there that I didn't allow people to see, because it was just so like, I had felt shame, and I had felt guilt, and I had felt fear about what was going on around me, but also but who I was. And if that didn't line up with my faith, and I didn't realize that you could take your faith in God and in the universe and in creation and mix it with the spirit world, because the way I was raised, they were completely polar opposite, or you couldn't mesh them really well. That just wasn't a thing. You couldn't pray and talk to Jesus and talk to God and then go be a medium, because that was evil. Those are trickery spirits. That is, da 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 da. And that's just not true. We were created in the image of the Creator himself. And that to me, like, that just gets me all of in my feels, that like he knew when he created Amanda that this is what my abilities were going to be. He knew when he created you that you were going to have those abilities that you have. He created them, that ability or your abilities, and gave you your life, your journey of whoever you were, whatever you're doing, whatever you're going to do, all of that up until today, December 26th, 2020. He knew you, whoever is watching this now or on the replay, that you were going to see this video, and that there's something in here. You tuned in today to hear something, some of the words that I'm having to say. And so knowing that, when we look at that, like we take that scope and we come out and we look at that big picture, we realize there's so much more than just being like afraid of whatever's under the bed. Like, we are there. He's given us the ability to sense what it is. So when we sense that, we need to stop fearing. We need to stop fearing. And it's one of those things where it's kind of weird and it's kind of scary and we just don't understand, but it's not, when you really look at the fact of who created you and why you're feeling those feelings in the first place. The fear that you're feeling is like conditioning. It is your ego. It is the uncertainty. But when you remove that and you replace that with the divine I am components, knowing God has created you to be who you are and to have those abilities, that fear goes away and it lessens. And over time, it'll lessen. And over time, as you continue to build up your power and your sense of self and the sense of who it is that you are, when you build those things up, the fear will lessen. And the more that lessens, the more it'll allow you to be able to have that connection with spirit. And you will begin to see how much beauty and how much love is actually there being offered to you in those experiences, for yourself, for other people around you. I will remember one of my very first mediumship, after I had taken a course and was starting to learn that there were terms for things that I was or that I did, and not just me being weird, and having these weird abilities that I didn't realize that other people didn't have until I said them, and they were like, "You got what?" I was sitting in my kitchen one day and I was making dinner, and I got a text message from a really good friend of mine, and there was a grandparent in the family that was getting ready to pass. And I'm making dinner and this text comes through, and I just thought, oh my God, like, how do I support them? And so I sat down on the bar, went around to the other side of the kitchen stools, and I sat down and I thought about it. And I literally said to myself, God, give me the words to help with comfort, because I don't know what to say. Like, nothing I could come up with just felt good enough to say, I'm sorry, like my heart for you, And so as I text something along the lines like, I'm so sorry, I'll be lifting your family in prayers. I set my phone down and I turned my head. My kids were outside playing in the front yard and the door was open. It was just like the glass storm door. And I was watching the kids, and the next thing I know, in my mind's eye, in my clairvoyance, there's a man standing in the hallway. And I'm like, what? And so I sat there. I could have chose to be like, nope, I'm making dinner, and got up and walked around and ignored it, and it would have went away, because that's everything that I've done in my entire life. But because I chose to sit in my dominion and go, I asked, how can I help? And here's this gentleman. What do I do? And so I sat there. And I looked down at my phone, and I looked back over at him, and he took a step forward, and he had on this tan suit. He looked so cute. He had this spiffy little sport jacket on, and he had a bouquet of flowers. This is going to make me emotional. He had a bouquet of flowers, and he took a step closer, and my heart's racing, but I kept checking in with myself. I'm good. He's not hurting me. He's coming in peace. He's coming with love. And then I could feel the love. He literally impressed with my clairsentience, like that feeling. I could feel his love, and I was no longer afraid. And I said, in my mind, I said, what do I do with this? And he gave me the feelings of a first date. I got the butterflies in my stomach. I was like, I had so much love and like butterflies in my stomach. I was just like, oh. And he said, I'm waiting. And I instantly was like, oh my God. So I picked up my phone and I texted my friend, way out of my comfort zone, by the way. Like, she knew some things, but I think this was like when I totally like, okay, here I am. I'm coming in. And so I texted her and I said, is her husband passed? And she said, yes. And she says, why? Right? What? Why? Who would ask that? And I said, he's waiting for her. He's appeared to me. He's come to me. He has flowers in his hand. He has a tan suit coat, like a sports jacket and pants. He's all dressed to the nines. He's waiting for her. He's waiting for her because he's excited to see her again. He's excited to be joined with her again. I'm sorry, it just gets me in my feels. This is what mediumship is. It's not scary. It's beautiful. It's love. And so he came and he said, I'm so excited. And so she had messaged her husband. It was his grandmother. And he went and saw her. Now, he was not a believer in this type of thing, but he went and saw her anyway. And he said, you know, I think she said he told her that he was waiting. Well, she passed that night. And I got a text from my friend and she said, thank you so much for sharing that with me. I know that was difficult because it was, you know, it was something I wasn't used to doing. She said, I know that was difficult, but my husband got to go see his grandma. He wasn't going to go. He wasn't going to go that night. He was going to wait, but he got to go. And because of that, you know, he says, thank you. And I was just like, to me, that was one of the things that just stripped away even more fear. Literally more walls of that I had put up of fear came down because I realized I had a choice that day. I could have told this spirit, who was not scary, but we're talking about it, like people coming into the house could be scary. But the story of it is not. He came in love. He came with flowers. He came with peace. A few days after the funeral, she sends me this picture. Oh my God. He was wearing the tan suit coat. He was there with his love, with his wife. It was a picture of the two of them, and they had put that up at the funeral, the calling hours or whatever. And I was just in awe. The work of spirit, the work of being a medium, the work of being connected, working with my gifts, co-creating with the divine who has given me this gift, who could take it at any moment. It's not me. this is not me. I am not able to do that. I don't specifically call up the dead. I didn't call him into my existence. I didn't even know, but I did ask, God, help me be of service, like bring me the words to bring comfort. I just meant, tell me what to say. Like, I'm so sorry, tell me something good to say. But that's being of service. That's saying yes to Spirit, and that's continuing to show up even in my fear. And at that moment, I remember sitting on that bench or sitting on that stool, thinking to myself, I could go walk around this corner and make dinner and he would go away. Or I could sit in my dominion. I can occupy that space, and I could know that God gave me this reason, this gift to be of service. And that's what I chose to do that day. That's how that started. And that moment, walls of fear came down. And I'm thankful for that experience. I'm thankful for that friend, and I'm thankful that I had that opportunity. But more so, I'm thankful that her husband was able to say goodbye to his grandmother, and that this couple is together again. Spirit can, and they do that, when our loved ones, like yesterday was the holiday, and I'm not trying to make this about mediumship, but being a medium, it comes up. Yesterday being a holiday in the States here, if you celebrate Christmas, yesterday was Christmas, and there's a lot of families that have lost people. There's a lot of families that have lost people, and over the years or recently. And so it can be a sad day. But one thing that we have to recognize is that when they pass, they're still around us. They're still here to support us. They're still here to love on us. And they're still here to be with us. They're here to celebrate. They're here to comfort. They're here to watch over us. They're here to sometimes just hang out. And so for whether you feel Spirit, sense Spirit, see Spirit, hear Spirit, or not at all, if you just know that and you talk to them, they will hear you. God doesn't take us away as soon as we die. He doesn't take us away to some place and lock us up as souls and not have us be. We are humans here. We were sent here for relationships, to be with each other, to work with each other, to support each other. There's no way he's going to have us do all of this here and then shoot, take us away. Just because they're not here in spirit, you can't touch them. They don't have this physical body. Does not mean that their souls aren't here. That does not mean that their souls can't stop by. It doesn't mean that we can't say hello. That heart space, that portal of love, that battery powered pack, that's like what if I feel fear, I start to connect with that. I put my hand here all the time. If you've had any sessions with me, or you've been in the lab with me when I've taught or done readings there or anything like that, like this area is always something that lights up for me. And it's almost like, I don't know, like a portal juice spot. I always say my heart's getting squishy because it'll just start to like activate and really feel that energy moving in my body. When I start to connect this, all the fear disappears, because I'm connecting to that source, that pure love, that God source energy. And so I want to empower you guys to really step into that and know you have a decision. You have the divine right. You have that. You're able to make that decision, whether you want to continue on this path or you don't want to. You have that. And that's cool, totally cool. Kids too, they can choose to do this or they can choose not to. But if you choose to do it, be prepared to be moved, because spirit's moving. And people's intuition and their divine, like their abilities, are really keying up these days. We're being called because the world is getting crazy. We need to have discernment. We need to know, we need to be able to listen to our bodies. Like, that doesn't sound right. That I don't agree with. That I agree with. That I can get back behind. I'm all for that. No way am I doing that. There's no right or wrong. It's what is it that's right for you? What is it that God's telling you? And that when we start to listen to our bodies and we start to empower ourselves with our bodies, we will really understand how much power we have. And the reason why we're being called, and the reason why people are starting to really turn to this type of work or this type of connection is because it's real. It's real. And I really wanted to just come up and talk to you. And I didn't mean to go down that mediumship, but that's just kind of the way it is. When you're a medium, you tend to go to this. But I just want you to remember to be sovereign in your dominion and to take up that space like a spiritual badass and know you have control over your area, over your what happens. And know that at the end of the day, you are divinely protected and loved. And there's not one thing that you can do to take that away. And so I am going to jump into the feed and see if there are any questions. If you guys have any questions for me, I don't think there's any here on the face or on the Zoom. But I do want to see if you guys have any questions or what you guys are saying. Good morning. Yes, it's Mr. Wigglesworth. Thank you. Yes, that's the story. But that's absolutely it. Smith Wigglesworth. Thank you. Yes, that's what it is. Yes, that's exactly why I want to develop my abilities, to bring comfort and hope to others. And you know what? Here's the thing. It starts with you. It starts with you. One thing that gets on my nerves, and it's in my title, is healing. Like, yes, I'm a healer. Yes, I'm a healer, but I'm not going to heal you. I'm just not. God can do that. The universe can do that. The source energy can do that. I cannot, but I'm a channel for that. So by me connecting with my abilities in that way has helped me heal areas of my own life, in emotional and physical, even areas of myself, because it's all connected. And doing that, healing myself, it allows me to open up and get rid of some of these things that I'm keeping within myself, get rid of some of those things in order for me to heal other people. That's how healers heal. We're not like sorcerers. We're like, boom, you're healed. But we heal by being channels. And if it's an energetic channel like Reiki or, you know, anything like that, there's that being a medium and channeling that information, that love from the other side. Medical mediums, you know, they are they're connecting with and being able to bring through information about your body. It's just so many different avenues and so many different ways. I just can't even, there's so much information coming through on that, but I'm like, okay, hold on. But yeah, so absolutely. Just when it's coming to you, if things come to you, don't be fearful. Allow it to happen. Allow yourself to know that God gave you those abilities for that reason. And if you have to, you can pray, do affirmations, find something that, you know, makes you feel more connected. And always, 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 when something's coming through, use discernment. Is this of the highest light? Is this of love? Is this fearful? Is this a fear-based? How does this make me feel? You know, have that kind of filter, if you will, coming through. But the more you worry about, for me, the more I would worry about protection, the more I would feel I needed it. And that could be more of like a calling in some energy as well. So if you are fearful and you're trying to connect, you're not going to bring in the most wonderful feeling or information. It's going to kind of muddy that up. And so what the very, very, very first thing I would always suggest anybody to do is to really work and examine on your fear and your beliefs, or whatever it is, that those beliefs that have that attachment to that fear, or that distrust, that discord there. And, you know, if by taking that into meditation, you can come up with that. By just prayer and affirmations, you can come up with that, like daily quiet time. when I say meditation, like you can meditate vacuuming. It just kind of takes you out to that, takes you out of that thought pattern that we always go down, that inner dialogue. You can do it through blow drying your hair. You can do it through washing the dishes. There's so many different things that you can do. You don't have to sit there and meditate, but I do suggest it because it is good after you allow yourself that space. But that being said, is when you're ready to really step in and face that fear, you'll know it. And when that time comes, then you work at that, and then things just take off for you. So if you guys are finding yourself in that position and you want to work with me one-on-one, get a hold of me, shoot me a message, or you can go onto my website and things like that. I've got a lot of information, but that's where I'm going to try to come up here a little bit more often and teach. I have some really fun people I'm going to be contacting and bringing into the group, so we're just going to have a talk. Like, I'm going to have myself and another person, and we're going to talk about spiritual topics. They're going to share their experiences. I'll share mine. And you guys, when you catch it, you will be like, I've had that experience, or I know what she's talking about. And a lot of times when we hear from other people and are connecting, like just listening, that's just listening. We understand ourselves. Sometimes I have the best epiphanies about myself when I'm sharing something with a friend, and then all of a sudden it clicks and I'm like, this makes sense. Why couldn't I come up with this on my own? I had to verbally talk about it. So that's what I want to, offer you guys as well. So, but if any of you are interested in, even coming in and sharing your own story, I want to encourage you guys. This is a community. I want you guys to, share your experiences, ask questions. The only question my grandpa used to say, the only question that the only bad question is the question you don't ask. I can guarantee if you have the question, someone else in the group will have the question as well. And if you don't feel like posting it, just send me a message and I will, because I have a few that I'm going to start posting, like I got this question and here's my answer. And, if you guys want to join in, I'm going to start doing that too. So whatever, just message me with questions if you have them, if you don't want to feel like you want to post it in group, and I would be happy to help. So I just want to make sure that you guys feel empowered. You have the power, you have the connection, you were created to take up that space. Be a spiritual badass. Take up that space, take up that power and that authority, and really know that you are gifted those abilities for a bigger purpose, whether that purpose is to heal your own heart or to be a light to other people. And you don't always have to. I have people who are like, well, I kind of have gifts, but I don't want to teach. You don't have to. I didn't start this journey thinking this would ever be something I would do. It's just where God's led me to do, because every time I've had that crossroads where I could choose fear and go, yeah, I'm going to tap out here because that's scary. Or I could go, okay, I asked that you'd lead me. Let's do this. You are going to do big things when you say yes. When you claim it, you're going to be rewarded. It was a reward to know that I can deliver messages like that. That gift of mine isn't scary when I know how to control it or when I know what to do with it.